Having just finished and uploaded a review of the Huawei Mate 20, I'm only going to focus on what's different and overall spectacular in this video review of the Huawei Mate 20X. For general layout and crossover features, please check out our Mate 20 review video. When Huawei's CEO Richard Yo stated the Mate 20X was the best portable mobile gaming machine, he singled out the Nintendo Switch as a lesser gaming machine. Really? He pointed out a few specs such as larger screen, larger battery life, and a higher resolution screen. Okay then, I suppose we're gonna have to really test out the gaming chops during this video to see if the Mate 20X can hold up over the far cheaper Switch. Along with the Mate 20, it seems we have found something special in this series. As a professional photographer, I generally bring three types of lenses with me: a standard focal length general use lens, a telephoto lens which allows for shots from further distances and often better portraits, and a wide angle lens for getting as much into a scene as possible. It's taken a bit of time, and now finally this configuration can kind of fit into your pocket as part of your phone. No adapters or special cases required. Thanks to Huawei, the Mate 20, Mate 20 Pro, and the Mate 20X each have this type of focal length trinity squarely pun intended, on the back of their phones. And boy, oh boy, it is fantastic. My name is Adam, tech editor for Gizmo China, and let's see if the Huawei Mate 20X is truly special when it comes to gaming and photography. Just as the Mate 20, the Mate 20X comes in a simple textured black box, with only the bright red round Leica logo differing from the understated Huawei Mate 20 branding and logo on the front. In the box, you'll find the phone, a protective TPU phone case, a SIM tray eject tool, a fast charger, USB-C charging cable, some paperwork, and some 3.5mm headphones. Huawei did an amazing job on the design of the Mate 20 series, and the Mate 20X with its two color options, midnight blue and phantom silver, are no exception. I really like the textured glass back and intricate patterns showcased below the glass. This detail aesthetic really looks and feels fantastic, as the slight texture makes the device a little less slippery than most glass back phones. The Huawei logo is just the right size. The Leica camera branding is small enough and colored similar enough that, while evident, isn't overpowering. It would, however, be difficult to overshadow the square camera module on the back of this phone, as it's way better than previous iterations of three camera designs. The smartly laid out module headlines this phone, not only for the cameras included, but for the way it looks. Clean, understated, and elegant. Just below the camera bump is the fingerprint sensor. I like that it's, again, understated, without any funky edging, but just clean style. The shiny aluminum chassis is sandwiched by glass front and back, which makes the device look as premium as it feels. The Huawei Mate 20X is a large in the hand 85.4mm wide, 174.6mm tall, and 8.2mm thick, with a weight of 232 grams that feels premium when holding. The 7.2-inch AMOLED display is truly the star of the show on the front and offers color, detail, and speed to prove worthy. The screen has a resolution of 1080 by 2240 and an 18.7:9 ratio, including the dewdrop notch. In the notch is the front camera and the earpiece speaker just above. None of the top-of-the-line 3D facial recognition tech is in here, as the larger notched Mate 20 Pro has. The button and auxiliary layout is slightly different than many Android phones these days, with the power and volume rockers on the right side and the SIM card tray on the left. However, the top of the device has, along with two antenna lines, an IR blaster, one of the noise reduction microphones, the second speaker in the absolutely fantastic dual stereophonic speaker system, and the 3.5mm audio jack. Yeah, on the top. Then the bottom of the device has the main microphone, USB-C charging port, and the main dual stereophonic speaker. With dual symmetrical speakers at both ends of the device, Huawei claims a super high dynamic range up to 40 decibels, which is extreme to say the least. Additionally, there's the Dolby Atmos designation with its range of use-specific sound tools. I've got to say, this is a massive upgrade from the Mate 20. Listen to what I mean here. Wow, the sound from this device is certainly in a league of its own. The sound has incredible separation, is full, pretty loud, accurate, and detailed. What are your thoughts on the sound based on the listening test? If you're enjoying our review of the Huawei Mate 20X, make sure to press the like button. You know, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the Mate 20 series and know which of the three you feel is the true winner of the series. Please leave your comments below and subscribe to the Gizmo China channel for more smartphone and tech goodness. Much of the Mate 20X interface is exactly what you'd get on the Mate 20, so please check that review for additional specifics. I'll quickly state that the Huawei Mate 20X comes with Android Pie and the heavy skin EMUI 9.0, and that the gesture system actually works slightly more fluid on this device than on the Mate 20. One thing I didn't see on the Mate 20 that is on the Mate 20X is the ability to darken interface colors, which is pretty groovy, especially when reading or at night. I do like the addition of the always on display feature that allows a low power mode that shows things such as time, date, battery while the phone is locked, which is not available on the Mate 20. Of course, there's a fingerprint reader on the back of the Mate 20X that also allows for swipes to access the quick access switches and swipe forward and back while in the gallery, which is a fine use of the sensor. The Fingerprint Id works well as you would expect, but isn't always as convenient on the rear of the phone, whereas the Mate 20 Pro has an in-screen fingerprint reader. Facial recognition is excellent and again is my go-to for unlocking the device. It's not as secure as the fingerprint scanner, but most of the time it works really fast and without additional input. On each of the Mate 20 series phones, you have quite a few smart controls like lift to wake, flip to mute, along with knuckle gestures, a feature that I'm not actually that fond of. It's on the inside of the phone where the Huawei Mate 20 series and this X version really begins to show its upgrade over the previous Mate series. For each of the Mate 20 series devices, except for the Lite, Huawei busts out the 7nm high silicon Kirin 980 octa-core beast of a chipset, which includes 4 Cortex A76 series chips and 4 Cortex A55 series chips, paired with the potent Mali G76 GPU. For the Mate 20X, Huawei has added a GPU turbo mode version 2, a liquid cooling system with a vapor chamber, which Huawei stated has double the cooling capability than the copper pipes more common in gaming phones these days. Having internals like this phone has, you had to know the benchmarks would be in the upper tier. And with an AnTuTu score of 271,021, which is slightly better than the Mate 20, there's no doubt that the Huawei Mate 20X graphics and video capabilities are better than most might need. Let's see if Huawei has succeeded. Although popular battle royale game PUBG isn't set up to play at high settings on the Mate 20 series, the Mate 20X has some serious gaming capabilities. While playing some graphics heavy games, as you can see here, I had very few to no issues, and I certainly gamed happily on the phone. I didn't notice lag or frame rate issues, but felt these were some of the best gaming sessions I've had on a mobile device. In fact, during the launch keynote, Huawei compared the Mate 20X to a Galaxy S9, and while the S9 gamed at around 30 frames per second, the Mate 20X doubled that with around 60 frames per second. Not too shabby. The lower screen pixel density shows up, however, with lots of jagged edges, but otherwise doesn't affect the games. I'd say for sheer power, the Nintendo Switch has a competitor. However, for overall usability, actual games including first-party and third-party console games found on the Switch, and price, the Switch has this phone beat by miles. Nice try though. The Huawei Mate 20X allows for use with the sold separately H Pen, with which you can draw directly onto the screen with over 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. My review unit has 6GB of RAM with 128GB storage, adding in a new proprietary nano memory card expansion of up to 256GB is great, although the card is a different size and not as easy to buy compared with the more standard micro SD. For those of you who would consider yourselves a power user, this phone and its 5,000 milliamp lithium ion battery is right up your alley. With this much juice, you're going to get more than a full day and a half of heavy use, including web browsing, gaming, videos. When or if you run out of battery charge, Huawei has a 22.5 watt supercharger unit that'll get you back up and running in less than an hour. One of the largest differences between the Mate 20 and Mate 20X is the camera system. Right off the rip for both phones, you know something special is going on, as you see the very unique sleek square camera array on the rear of the phone. That includes 3 cameras with different focal lengths and a dual tone flash. However, the Mate 20X actually has the same upgraded camera system as the more lauded and expensive Mate 20 Pro, with a 40 megapixel f1.8, 27mm standard focal length camera. Then we have a 20 megapixel f2.2, 16mm ultra wide camera, and finally an 8 megapixel f2.4, 80mm telephoto option. This configuration offers a before unheard of amount of flexibility in composition for your shot. Having 40 megapixels is great, but it comes at some cost in terms of dynamic range and compositional options, as there is no zooming when using the full resolution. Additionally, the camera has a 10 megapixel mode that seems to make better use of the image stabilization than at 40 megapixels. The details from the 40 megapixel images are incredible, however, so in use it can be spectacular. On the Mate 20X and Pro versions of the series, optical stabilization is available. On the right side and on the bottom when in landscape mode, you have a focal length slider with just a tap will switch from regular to zoom to wide. Or you can just click and drag to adjust the zoom the entire length with 5x optical range and up to 10 times digital zoom. The main modes are all the same as the Mate 20, and of these, there's a lot to take in that we're going to have to include in a separate camera specific video. Of these, I recommend night, photo, video, pro, time-lapse, light painting, 3D panorama, and slow-mo. The night mode's really fun with multiple exposures going into one image, and the light painting takes a far slower series of images, but make sure to keep the camera very still. Pro mode offers manual controls and the ability to record raw DNG images. Slow-mo on this device is crazy good with 1080p at 120 frames per second, 720p at 240 frames per second, and a wild and crazy 720p at 960 frames per second for when you really want to slow something down. The only problem with that is when you press record for the 960 frames per second, it doesn't start recording until it sees movement. Unfortunately, by the time it goes to slow-mo and starts recording, the movement tends to be gone. The front-facing camera is a 24 megapixel shooter that selfie lovers are really going to enjoy. Plenty of modes and easy to access options. In addition, the front-facing camera has up to 1080p HDR video. It looks really quite good. Video on the main rear array is spectacular with HDR10 Plus and up to 4K video. There's 60 frames per second at 1080 only, but I'll definitely take that any day. There's optical stabilization at some resolutions here, which makes me pretty happy, of course, with 4K and 1080p 60 frames per second, my go-to resolutions for video making. In use, I've found the video mode to be pretty dang good, albeit not perfect in some of the resolution focal range combinations. Make sure to check the video you take at the different settings to see what you feel is best for the type of shooting you do. I preferred 4K pretty much all at the wide end, all the way to 3 times zoom. Once you get to 5 times, the image stabilization seems to fall off quite heavily. Here is a resolution comparison that also shows the stability of the video at 720p, 1080p, and 4K, all at 30 frames per second. There's no doubt that I've had a wonderful experience with the Mate 20 and now the better camera system in many ways, Mate 20X. I'm glad that I no longer have to wait to get a true high quality experience at differing focal lengths on a camera phone. So what are your thoughts on the camera? Do you think there's a better camera system out there from other brands? After spending quite a bit of time with both the Mate 20 and now the Mate 20X, I see some hefty differentiation and the backbone of a super set of phones. The size of this phablet, extreme gaming and video chops, the camera system, the battery life, all are reasons to pick the Mate 20X over the Mate 20, which had one of the best photo experiences I've ever had with a mobile phone, beaten now by the Huawei Mate 20X. It's my opinion that included in the Mate 20 trio of phones is a device that is just about perfect for you. However, I don't feel it's as much of a gaming device as the Nintendo Switch, even with a few better features. Share with us in the comments which Mate 20 series phone is the best for you and why you feel that way in the comments section. I look forward to reading your thoughts.